I'm Supervisor Ed Wareheim, and welcome to Smithtown GTV. Thank you very much all for attending today. Let me start by saying what a banner 2 weeks for Kings Park, right? Yeah. How about that? As you know, there's many people that were involved in making this sewer project come to fruition here in Kings Park. It took some time, we all know that, but that's what happens in government, but we were successful in the end. And I'm so proud to be here today with elected leaders, our civic community, our citizens, to explain exactly how this transpired and what happened and where we're going into the future. So let me start by saying this morning, I'd like to thank the Kings Park community. Many of them are here today. I'd like to thank Linda Henninger, from President of our Civic Association. Linda, thank you. Sean Lehman, Civic Association in Kings Park. I'd like to thank Tony Tanzi, Chamber of Commerce, for standing with us. I would like to also thank someone who I've become very close to since taking office. He has a great vision like we do here today. I'd like to thank Eric Alexander for being here today. Eric, thank you so much. Dr. Timothy Egan, from Superintendent of our school district. Very helpful. Leo Ostabo and Joanne Hahn from the Heritage Museum. Thank you very much, Joanne. And David Flynn, our retired Planning Department Director. David works with the Heritage Museum as well. So those folks were very instrumental in backing us up on our efforts to get this accomplished, and I want to thank them for doing so. I also want to thank, before we start, Governor Cuomo. As you all know, he is who put the $40 million up, $20 million for Smithtown, $20 million for Kings Park, which we'll shortly be putting into effect. And I want to thank the governor for thinking about us here in Smithtown. It's going to really move Smithtown, Kings Park into the future. Without that funding, of course, it wouldn't be done. So I want to thank the governor. I also want to thank Senator John Flanagan. Rob Carpoli's here from the Senator's office for reintroducing that bill. Thank you very much. Make sure the Senator knows how much we appreciate it. Assemblyman Mike Fitzpatrick, who worked with me diligently on it. Michael, thank you very much. Assemblyman Engelbright, who I've become pretty good friends with over the last couple of months, who led it out of committee. So I want to thank the Assemblyman for that as well. I also want to thank two people who I probably bothered way too much, but they were extremely instrumental by allowing me to constantly contact them through this entire process. And those two people are Suffolk County Executive Steve Bellone. County Executive, thank you so much. And Peter Scully. Peter has been so helpful. Peter's going to be here. I think the County Executive will have him come up and explain what we're going to do. But Peter has been on the phone with us anytime we need either one of these gentlemen. They've been absolutely accessible, and that was vital to getting this done. I also want to thank the Chamber of Commerce, Civic Association, Kings Park School District, Heritage Museum, VFW for having us here and allowing us to use the hall, and Mario Matera from the Plumbers Union, who helped lobby for the bill. To the local residents and business community who has waited patiently for years, we look forward to working with you. H2M Steve Hurl is here. H2M, very helpful. Steve, thank you very much for your help. And I want to just take a moment to have our planning department staff, they're all here. Peter Hans is the director. Would the planning department staff stand up, please? Thank you very much for what you do. This is an excellent planning staff. They have really signed on to our vision, and that's imperative, as you all know. Without the planning people and the planning staff and their expertise, we couldn't move forward with this. So someone who I also want to thank is Senator Jim Gorin, State Senator Jim Gorin, who I also had conversations with regarding this bill as well. All of these people together and I think the county executive will also talk about this. Without working together, we get nothing done. You can't get anything done in government without working together. So we're very fortunate here today in Kings Park. I'm very proud of the efforts. I want to thank everyone again for all of the help that we afforded. This is a great, great time for the town of Smithtown, and it is my distinct pleasure to introduce County Executive Steve Bellone.
Thank you very much, Supervisor. It is an honor to be here, and actually, it's really a celebration to be here. I remember this is where we were, I think, 8 years ago when we were first talking about Kings Park and what the possibilities are here. And I remember having conversations with the councilman then at the time, and of course with the Civic and the Chamber. And there was a lot of talk about infrastructure and sewers. Back then, everybody recognized how critical what we're doing here today, the moment we're at here today, everybody recognized back then that this was a critical piece of that. But what the supervisor said is exactly right. The only way we got from there to here was a bunch of people worked together to make it happen. That's the only way big stuff happens. It's the only way the significant things that we need to do in government to ensure prosperity for everyone we represent, for all the families and all the communities that we represent. It only happens when what Kings Park and this town have done happens. And that's why this is a great celebration. That's why I'm so excited to be here today. Today we are celebrating essentially the unleashing of the economic potential of the Kings Park community, while at the same time ensuring environmental sustainability. That is something to celebrate. And that's what bringing sewers here to the downtown and to the community is all about. But this really was a joint effort, and I want to thank, again, echo the supervisor's comments, the Civic Association, Linda, who's been here from the very beginning on this issue, and the Chamber of Commerce, Tony Tanzi, incredible leadership, I can tell you, here at the local level. And, of course, our leadership at the state level, Governor Cuomo. I want to thank the governor. He's been a great, great partner on economic development and water quality issues. We couldn't have asked for a better partner. I want to thank Senator Flanagan, as well as Assemblyman Fitzpatrick, as well, for his leadership, and Assemblyman Engelbright. And the supervisor, he mentioned he's gotten close to the Assemblyman who chairs the Environmental Committee over the last couple of months. I will say this. Leadership matters. And, understanding the things that are important. First of all, having a vision and having a long-term goal in mind for your community is really important. But on top of that, it's not just having a vision, it's also the leadership to get it done. And he talked about being on the phone with me. I can tell you he was out there having the conversations with all of our legislative leadership, with our team, just pushing this forward relentlessly to make sure this happened, because he knew, Supervisor Wareham understood, that this was critical. And it didn't have to get done. How many times have we seen in government the right thing not happen? The thing that makes sense not happen. The easiest thing to do is to blow something up or stop something from happening, even if it makes sense, even if it's the right thing. We've done that many times in this region. The difference is the thing that stops it or prevents that from happening is when you have leadership, and that's what Supervisor Wareham has provided here. And we in the county are proud to support what is happening here at the local level. The other game changer, of course, was the community coming together, leadership at a local level combined with, at a civic level combined with leadership in government, to develop a community plan. When we first originally had these conversations and we talked about infrastructure, what I would always say is infrastructure is critical, but it's not the hardest part. and it's not the most important part. The most important part is people coming together in the community to say what it is that they want to see happen. What vision do they have for the future of their community? And that's the hard part. And I think at first Linda didn't really believe me when I talked about that. I said, listen, if the community comes together, I'm confident that we on a governmental level will be able to pull together the resources we need to implement the infrastructure. And, you know, the community, Tony, Linda, there was a little bit of a leap of faith there, and they did that hard work. They worked together at the local level. They worked together with the local government and governmental leaders. And as a result of that work, I believe we would not be standing here today if that hard work was not done and that community vision was not laid out. So my congratulations to everyone who was part of that process and the leadership that you see here. You mentioned Eric Alexander as well, who's a big part of that community process, who does that in communities across the island. But that was critical. And because of all of these efforts, we are here today. I could not be more proud. I'm excited about what's happening here in Kings Park and what's happening in the town of Smithtown and in the county. Our role is to support great vision, great leadership. That's what we have here. That's what's happening in the town of Smithtown, and we're going to continue to support that in every way that we can. So with this sewer project now, with this bill passed, we can begin the process. We expect design to be completed this November, and then we're going to be moving forward. I'm proud to announce with my colleague and partner, Supervisor Wareheim, we are going to be hosting a series of community meetings that will continue that community engagement that is important throughout the entire process. But I'm going to ask my good friend and colleague, who you heard mentioned before, Peter Scully, to come forward and to provide some more details about exactly what's going to be unfolding in the coming months as we seek to implement this sewer project, this infrastructure project, and ultimately the community's vision for revitalization and growth here in the downtown. But I want to say about Peter Scully, of course, he's more commonly known as the water quality czar in Suffolk County, which is a well-earned moniker. He is an environmental expert. He's been one of our region and states, honestly, environmental leaders for a couple of decades now, and has been involved in some of the most significant environmental issues in our state. And, you know, I worked very hard to lobby him to come to the county. He was in the regional director position at the state DEC. It has been very easy for him to stay in that position where he was making a great difference for our region on environmental issues. And I asked him to take a leap of faith and come to county government to work on addressing water quality and sewer infrastructure in places like Kings Park, where, you know, we have the ability to help a community reach its economic potential. And he made that decision to come over. I'm grateful that he did it. He has been doing amazing work. And again, we wouldn't have been here without that great partner, Peter Scully. So I want to ask him to come forward and give us some details about where we go from here on the sewer project. So with that, I'm going to invite the Deputy County Executive for Administration, but we call him the water quality czar, Peter Scully.
Thank you, Mr. County Executive, and let me join all the prior speakers in congratulating this community on this amazing process. We've arrived here today where we can talk about the actual implementation of a sewer project that the community has been waiting for a long time. And I can tell you that the reason that I did decide to join the administration of the county executive is because he, unlike his predecessor, said, I'm going to have at this water quality issue. I'm going to have at it in a big way. I'm going to think big, and we're going to do big things. It's something I was excited to become part of, and this project is just a good example. The cooperation between the town and the county on this issue dates back a decade. The Department of Public Works worked closely with the former Director of Planning, Frank DeRubius, in trying to determine what would be the most practical service area. The county, in rebuilding the wastewater treatment plant that exists here in Kings Park, sewer district Sewer District Number 6, made sure that it was sized so that there would be capacity to accept the flows from Kings Park. These are all long-term building blocks, but here we are today. The funding became the big challenge, and when the governor stepped up and said, yes, we can make available transformative investment program funds in the amount of $20 million with the assistance of our state legislators, suddenly we're at a point where we could move forward with implementation. And in looking at the appropriate location for a pump station, we identified a piece of town-owned property, which became a little bit of a delay, but here we are. The bill's been signed. So let's talk a little bit about where we go from here. We're going to move into the implementation process. Sewer District Number 6 is a county sewer district. The Kings Park community will be an addition to Sewer District Number 6, and under New York State county law, there is a very clear and prescribed process that we need to move forward. It's going to begin in November with the completion of the design of the project and then consideration of the project by the Suffolk County Sewer Agency. We anticipate that the Sewer Agency will approve the project at its meeting in November. We'll move from the Sewer Agency to the role played by the Suffolk County Legislature, which will need to schedule a public hearing. We hope that the legislature will vote in February to do that, and that the hearing will take place in March. And then we expect that the legislature will probably approve the extension of Sewer District Number 6 to include this project area, contingent on approval by voters in the project area at referendum. New York State county law attaches what's called a permissive referendum requirement to the extension or creation of sewer districts in Suffolk County. A permissive referendum means that any registered voter in the service area can file a petition and demand that the matter be put before the voters. What we found in the past is that elected officials are much more comfortable having the public vote be part of the process, and I envision that it will be here. Those of you who have paid attention to the larger picture in Suffolk County know that the Suffolk County Executive and the Governor also secured $388 million for 4 sewer projects along the South Shore in communities that were inundated by Sandy. In January of this year, we had a public referenda in those areas, including areas that are considered a challenge, Babylon and the Forge River and Mastic. We got 87% voter approval in Babylon and 85% voter approval in Forge River. We're confident that the people of Suffolk County see the value of improvements to protect water quality. And let's keep in mind that in this instance, the entire cost of this project will probably be funded out of this $20 million grant. So we'll move into that process with confidence, I think, and after the voters approve the project, we'll then move on to the necessary approval by the Office of the State Controller, which needs to review the extension of the sewer district, and then we'll move forward with the actual letting of construction contracts. We anticipate that that will happen in late 2020, and that construction will begin in early 2021. It will take some time. This is a large project geographically. The force main is about 1.4 miles of force main, and the construction of the pump station. And our hope is that the construction will be completed and the facilities will become operational in October of 2023. So that kind of lays out the process in the larger sense, but as the county executive pointed out, the community engagement that has happened so far has been critically important for this project, and it will continue to be. Once the sewer agency approves the project and we have a map, plan, and report that estimates the costs of the project, we'll then begin to engage with the community and explain to them how the project will move forward in advance of a likely referendum in 2020. That's kind of a big picture view as to where we are. We're very excited to continue this ongoing dialogue with all of these stakeholders who are on the stage, and we look forward to seeing this project through to completion. Thank you.
Just going to have a couple folks come up and say a few words as well. But before I do that, I want to thank Nicole Gargiulo. Nicole, thank you for setting this up today. And I say this every place I go, but it's actually factual. No one person can do this stuff alone, although it's nice that a lot of the credit comes to me and the press, et cetera. But I don't do it alone, and I'd like the people to stand that make this happen as well with me, and that's the team of council people downstairs, and that's Tom McCarthy. Stand up, please. Tom McCarthy, Councilman Tom Lohman, Councilwoman Lisa Inzarella. Councilwoman Nowick is unable to be here today. I think her daughter's getting married. She's in Colorado. But truly, I couldn't ask for a better town board to work with, and I think it shows just the progress we've made in the first 2 years of our administration shows how important that they are to me. With that, I'd like to invite Linda and then Tony to come up and say a few words.
Hi. I always like to start by saying there's no better town in the world than Kings Park. That's all there is to it, hands down. So lately I've been saying that there's a triangle that's really important, and the triangle is government, business, and community. And if you have that triangle working, any project is doable. And that's what we had here. And the Civic Association loved working with the Chamber and with Tony and with government, and that's, I think, the only reason we're here today. I do want to say one other thing on behalf of the Civic. Next year we are 50 years old. It's our 50th birthday next year. And I look behind and I look ahead, and looking at where we are now and what's going to happen, I can honestly say the best is yet to come. Thank you, everyone.
Good morning. First and foremost, I also want to thank this community, because without Kings Park's full support, we would never, ever have been able to get this done. That being said, I also want to thank the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, because they put faith in some of my crazy ideas. And a lot of times it's tough, but these guys really get out and work. And thank you guys so much. How about a round of applause for all the board of the Chamber? Also, I'd like to thank the Civic Association, because it's no secret that in the past there have been things that we're at odds with, and we're never going to get around that. You know, that's just, you know, we're on one side, they're on the other side. But when it comes to the Kings Park community, we can all say without fail that we are in favor of a better Kings Park. And I think the most important thing that comes out of this is we are going to leave this place better for our children. And I think that's the message that comes out. And thank you so much, Supervisor Wareheim, and thank you so much, County Executive Bellone, because you guys are awesome.
Thank you, Tony and Linda. Eric, how about come on up and say a few words, if you will.
Sure. This is, no, you know, people tell us, first off, the funny joke is not about us, but we did a little plan for the Psych Center years ago. It was roundly rejected. We were kicked out of town. And so, sorry to bring it up. No, please. So the point, though, I'm saying is that this community recognized that they can come together, they can agree on things, and even bring us back even to help really unify. And what we learned is the community, no matter what side you're on, we're in an era of polarization nationally, but locally, folks can really work together who have different ideas, but they can come together for the betterment of their community. And when that happens, and everyone can tell you, how many people told us this will never happen, right? How many people, you know, it's just this negative drumbeat that people tell you. But when you really roll up your sleeves and work with people, I know that's what Steve Bellone does. I know that's what Town Supervisor Ed Wareheim and John Flanagan, all the people that came together on this, the leaders that came together, but the community leaders also did that. They rolled up their sleeves. They got it done. And when we had 200 people, multiple public meetings, and I think there was that one picture where, like, literally everyone in the room, some people had two hands up. They're like, do you support sewers? Everybody was like, yes, we do. So I know Peter Scully is going to be keeping a scorecard as far as the referendum that comes forward that makes sure that all the folks come out for that, and I'm sure everyone will unite around that. But the point is, when we see people come together to get things done on Long Island, anything can happen. Everybody says it can't get done, but you know what? It does get done sometimes, and this is just a perfect example of that. So we're honored to be part of this and humbled. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our conference for this morning. Again, on behalf of County Executive Bellone and myself, congratulations, Kings Park.
The sewer's on, water's on. For the Main Street downtown area to survive and to rebuild, sewers is an incentive for building owners to rehabilitate their buildings. And this way here, it'll be economically feasible to have stores and apartments. Right now, you cannot build apartments above the buildings because there's no sewer capacity. The ground does not have the capacity to handle the sewers. Well, right now, the Board of Health has a requirement that you can only only use 300 gallons of water a day. Sewers would permit you to use a great deal more water a day, which would then permit apartments and restaurants. Well, it's something that we've been thinking about, or the business community has been thinking about for the last 50 years. So it's glad to see it's coming about.
So this was a very big day and a very exciting day in Kings Park today, talking about the alienation bill that was signed for sewering of Kings Park. There are many, many people here today at this press conference that we thanked, and everyone in the Assembly and the Senate and the Governor's office for going along with him with this funding.